Fred Wilkinson, Chief Editor of the National Provisioner. Today I'm speaking with Heidi Skolnik. She is a nutritionist and is a spokesperson for Link Snacks, which is the makers of the Jack Link's meat snacks products. Could you tell us a little bit about your background as a nutritionist?
Sure. I really specialize in sports nutrition. I'm also an exercise physiologist. And so I just try to help people be active and stay healthy through diet and movement patterns, basically.
Okay. Well, to get things started here, I was going to talk to you or ask you about kind of some nutrition trends affecting the meat category and new product development in the meat category. So, how can meat products capitalize on trends such as the rising emphasis on protein in Americans' diets and the increasing use of GLP-1 type medications?
Sure. Well, I think it's pretty simple because I think that meat snacks kind of hit those four simple E's, which are easy accessibility, easy to carry, easy to find, easy to eat. And that's what people want, is they just want to make their snacking easier and their nutrition easier. And so I think meat products can really help with that in a very big way. I actually am already also writing a book, by the way, which I didn't mention in the intro, on GLP-1s that'll be coming out in September. And so I can certainly talk about GLP-1 use. So the idea for protein is different for different people, but we all need it. And I think that for people on GLP-1s, the idea is that they need to get in adequate nutrients, but in a small volume. And meat snacks can really help bridge that gap for them and provide what they need. They're losing weight, and as they're losing weight, their protein needs are a little bit higher to try to help to maintain the muscle that they have. And if they're not eating enough, they break down muscle even quicker. And for the rest of us, protein, I think that the whole sort of surge in protein awareness is also around preventing sarcopenia because we break down muscle as we get older. And so having adequate protein can be really helpful to that end. And protein can be, provide some satiety. And then animal protein, meat products are just really, they're bioavailable. They're full of all of the amino acids. They provide B12 and iron and zinc, and they're nutrient-rich food. And so I think that again kind of checks off a lot of boxes in terms of helping to provide us with nutrients and stabilize our blood sugar when we pair it with other foods and manage body weight through satiety. There's just so many benefits to getting in adequate protein.
Okay. How is consumer demand for less is more clean label protein snacks shaping kind of the, well, meat snack category in particular, but just kind of the larger meat category in general as well?
Well, it's interesting you should bring that up because I think you've heard of Jack Link's is now coming out with this new line of this three ingredient product of three different of their meat snacks. So I think that there is a way to respond to this demand in a way that really stays true to quality and flavor, which is what consumers want. They want transparency. They do want a short ingredient list. And I think there is a way that that can be met.
Okay. So the kind of sweet, hot, spicy flavor profile has proved kind of enduringly popular here in recent years. What is behind the popularity or consumer acceptance of that new flavor profile?
Well, I think I do think as often there is sort of a pushback to too much sweet. I'm going to just add on a little bit to the answer before in terms of like this less is more clean label. People I think, got tired of bars and, sort of fabricated options to get in protein, and they really like the idea of being able to eat food that they kind of recognize, and they can kind of get a sweet overload, especially I think from bars, and might be left with sort of bloating or an ucky feeling, or depending upon what other like sweeteners were added. But that's a little bit different because on the same with the same, explanation to now go into the spicy, I think that people love flavor. And I think that that's continuing to increase in popularity, that this idea of global flavors, this idea that they don't want food that just tastes like cardboard, right? Just because it's good for them. They want their food to taste good, whatever that is, more authentic to what it is. And so they really like foods that are um, authentic to different cuisines. They're looking for that in terms of that global, but then they also like just some big, bold, spicy or sweet flavors that kind of are a surprise to their mouth and are still satisfying and retain the nutrition.
To what degree is that flavor trend being driven by younger consumers?
Uh, a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot. I think older consumers are a little bit more concerned with the nutritional profile, although younger consumers are too. But I do think that the younger generation is driving that global flavor range a little bit more.
Well, Heidi, I have one more question for you.
Sure.
Um, you are skeptical about the beef tallow craze. What can you tell us about that?
I sure am. I've been doing this a long time, and there's always a craze that comes and it goes, and I think this is one of them. And it's because, there's a reason it went out. There's a reason that we don't cook in beef tallow anymore, because it's not good for our health, because that's saturated fat. Now we can handle some saturated fat because that's what beef tallow predominantly is. And we can handle some saturated fat. We can eat a broad range of foods. Our body knows what to do with it. But when it moves over to too much, then it's damaging for our heart health. And so there are other options other than beef tallow to cook with, to fry with, and to fry flavor. So, like, again, one of the reasons that beef snacks is great is because you're getting the nutrition, but you're not getting a lot of saturated fat at all. In fact, it's low in saturated fat. And so you can enjoy the benefits that beef can give you without the part of it that's not good for you, which is high cuts of fatty meat. And beef tallow is taking that fat and adding it to your diet, not finding it within a piece of meat or within any other food that might have some saturated fat, where you're getting a total nutrition profile, throughout the day of many foods that you eat, and you're just adding it. So look, if people want to use a little beef tallow because it's adding some flavor to their fried food or their cooked food, well, first of all, like what's the idea of like going back to tons of fried food? I think we've kind of moved past that for most people, but I'm all for flavor. But you use it in specific ways to really enhance the flavor profile in smaller amounts. Like in nutritional cuisine, you would add some butter on top where you're going to get that real mouthfeel right away, right? You're not going to be cooking in tons of butter, because we know that. And I don't get this whole the opposition to seed oils, because that's just a false narrative out there. Seed oils, when replacing saturated fat, lowers risk of heart disease, is healthier for you. So it's a solution people have found to a false problem.
Well, Heidi, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.